Okay, so before we officially start this video, I just want to say that my wedding photos finally made it to my house. And like, look at how cute we are! So yeah, that's it. Now on to the actual thing. Howdy, hey, what's up? Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be going over everything that I read in the month of May. If you hear any dog barks or growls or anything, they're right here watching the window, and they're in the library with me. Hopefully they'll let me finish this time. I have taken this intro like 5 times. So if you look up here, you'll kind of get a sneak peek of everything that I've read this month, or at least most of it. The starter is kind of last month as well. And instead of going in order of everything, I'm going to start with the books that I read for Asian Readathon, because I have another video going over those books that you can watch, and I'll link it up top in the thing. So for Asian Readathon, I first read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O digitally. I read The Fortunes of Jaded Women by Carolyn Young. I read Severance by Ling Ma. I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So after reading The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. Now this is a contemporary romance where we follow Wynne and Harriet as they fake date and go through a second chance romance as they go on their annual trip to Lobster Fest with their 4 other friends who have all coupled up over the years as well. And the title will deceive you because this is also a sad place. Like, when I tell you that I cried for like the last 75 to 100 pages of this thing, I cried. I enjoyed reading this. I read it right after being sick, so it helped also finally clear out the rest of my sinuses. Overall, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because it actually made me feel something. I enjoyed it. If you like contemporary romances, if you like friends growing up and figuring yourself out in your 30s, this is honestly a great book. Now, after finishing this, I read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I got this book from my Owl Crate subscription box. Look at those edges. I'm just excited to have like fancy special editions. This book is like World War II-esque with like a gods war going on. We follow Iris Winnow, who is currently a intern basically at the Oath Gazette, and she is facing off against Roman Kit for the promotion to become a columnist. At the same time, her brother has basically gone off to war and gone missing, and she has not heard anything from him since he left. And her mother is taking the loss of one of her children very hard and has become an alcoholic. So we follow Iris as she goes through this hard time, and she is writing letters to her brother on her grandma's typewriter and putting them in her armoire since she has nowhere else to send them, and it's something that her grandma did. Now, this world has faint magic. Like, it was a world that used to have gods and used to have a lot of magic. So currently they're living in like residual magic. So they have like magic buildings and they have magic items. But from what I've seen, no one can specifically do magic. And this gods war is happening because one of the gods that they had put to sleep has awoken and is going to, and is like pillaging every town that he crosses, trying to find a specific god. And these gods, like, I kind of want to say they're Hades and Persephone without love. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But the gods aren't that important in this book. And I say in this book because it is going to be at least a duology, maybe more. And the gods will play a lot more in the next book. This book was more of like a slow build-up romance between Roman and Kit, an enemies to lovers romance, because those letters that I mentioned earlier that she's sending are magically being sent over to Roman, who gets them, and originally he was just reading them and putting them in a shoebox, But this book starts with him finally responding to the letter saying, "This is not Forrest." And we go through Iris and Roman fighting for the position of columnist, with Iris not knowing who she's responding to, and Roman knowing entirely what is going on, or at least knowing who is on the other side of the letters. Roman also has his own thing going on with like an abusive father, and they're like rich money, old money, railroad money. So there's a lot of things playing into them being like polar opposites of each other, being enemies. I think this romance really works. It was something that I needed, especially coming off of Silver in the Bone, which terrible. So this book kind of did everything right that Silver in the Bone did wrong, because we have the letters that are going on. We also have the storytelling aspect in here as they're discovering the myths of these old ancient gods. And then we have the war aspect that is really well done. Like, we go into the trenches for a bit as well. So we follow them as they, you know, write to each other, fall in love, go through the beginnings of a war, and we end on a cliffhanger. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I think if I had read it at a different time, I might not have enjoyed it as much, but when I read it, it was the perfect time to read it. So I gave it like a 4.5, because I was really bouncing back and forth between a 4-star and a 5-star, thinking that it was just timing that made me think it was super good. I can't wait for the sequel though. I'm excited for it, especially because I think it's going to be more epic. Yeah. After Divine Rivals, I finally finished Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the third book in the Raven Cycle series, so I'm not going to go much into detail about this, except you should read it, and in fact, you should listen to it, because I have these all on audiobook, and Will Patton is such a great narrator for these. Like, his voice comes through. I like the gravel. I really enjoy what he did to Dream Thieves as well. The audiobooks are great. I love these books. I even splurged to get the special edition Alcrate box that came out. And another cool thing about the audiobooks, at least on the Audible app, I don't know if any of the other ones do it, but Maggie Stiefvater also plays the intro and outro music, so you get like more in depth into it. I love these series. Roman is my favorite. He is my little baby boy. And we're gonna move on. Then I played catch up on the Asian Readathon, and I finished Severance, finished Fortunes of Jaded Women, and finished Yellowface, whereas I read Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea at basically the beginning of the month. So then we finished off this month strong, really. This was a strong reading month with me. So we finished off this month reading Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Ellie Casameno. This is a start to a murder mystery-ish series where Finlay Donovan is kind of like a not that great selling author of these murder romance books, who is going through a messy divorce, has 2 young children, and is falling behind on her deadlines. So as she goes to meet up with her agent, they talk really weirdly about the book. It's a little unrealistic. But anyway, someone overhears them and thinks that she's a murder for hire. So Finlay Donovan leaves the Panera with a note saying to kill this person's husband. So we go through her flip-flopping on whether or not she should murder this really bad dude who honestly deserves to be murdered. We go through her ex-husband being terrible. We go through Vero being the star of the story and honestly should have been the main character. Or I personally think that it was a little too foilistic between Finley Donovan and Vero, and I wish that they had been a little more evenly blended, because Finley is very much failing at everything, and Vero is doing her shit, and she's got everything handled. She can clean the house, she can take care of the kids, and she can murder a person no problem, because she's got to pay those student loans, you know? There were some problems that I had with the book, like I didn't appreciate the dogpiling on Teresa the entire time. Like, they make her to be a bad character in the book anyway, but I feel like all of Finley's anger was put on Teresa, and none of it was put on Stephen, her ex-husband. So I didn't like that. It's not at all a Reba Barberjean moment. And I think we could have gone really well with that. I think the whodunit of the first murder was a little rocky and shaky, and I don't like or appreciate or think that it's set in stone what the final conclusion of was with the garage door. If you know, you know. Anyway, murder mystery, divorce, kids, Russian mob. It was a fun, quick little read. Don't think about it too much as you read it, though. There are more, and even though I've heard people be like the third one is kind of terrible, I think I will continue on with it and see where it goes, because it was fun, so long as you do suspend your disbelief about how messy she can be about everything and still get away with it all. Bonus round, we are currently in the middle of In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. I really thought that I was going to finish it Memorial Weekend, where I read like 4 other books. But I ended up getting well behind, and it is now the 2nd of June, 3rd of June. So this is going to be the first book of June. So that's everything that I read in May. My favorite book of this month, honestly, I'm probably going to bounce back and forth between Divine Rivals and Happy Place, because I read them both at a time that I needed to read them. Now, Blue Lily, Lily Blue is so great, but it is a reread, so I'm not really counting it as the best books that I've read this year yet. But we'll probably have both of those on my Battle of the Books at the end of the year. Divine Rivals and Happy Place, that is. Have you read any of the books that I read? And what books did you read this month? Go ahead and tell me in the comments down below. Otherwise, that's everything. Have a good day. And remember, we are all in progress.